So YIELDMAX ETFs paid out this week, and we're going to update my spreadsheet to see where I'm currently at on my positions, as I do have some of the previous weekly payers and the previous 4-week payers, which all pay out weekly now. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today we're going to go over the spreadsheets, and they will contain the ones that I have that are in Group 1 and Group 2. So let's just go ahead and jump right into that, and let's find out if they are profitable or not. Alright, so we're going to start right off here with CONY. And the reason we're starting off with CONY is because I did make some purchases on CONY this week, and that will increase the number of shares I will have that would be eligible for the latest distribution. Now I have the distribution amount entered in right here, but I do not have the number of shares yet. So just to help speed it along a little bit, I've already entered in those distribution amounts into each one. All I'll have to do is enter in the number of shares that were eligible for that distribution to help to create my new real price per share. And you should definitely be tracking your real price per share here on your high yield ETFs, because this is what's going to tell you when you are finally in the green. And it will also let you know when you get your original capital invested back, so that then you're playing with YIELDMAX house money. And then from that point on, all distributions would be free and clear as long as you don't invest any more than that distribution amount that you earn. And that can definitely be some exciting times. Now, if you don't have a way of calculating that real price per share, you can get this sheet from the link in the pinned comments and in the description, where you can buy me a coffee, and then you'll get access to this sheet where you can enter in your own positions of each one that you have. And you'll just simply make new tabs for each one. And you can label it whatever you want. But all you'll need to do is just change that ticker symbol. And then you'll enter in your purchases and your distributions that you've earned for your portfolio to help calculate your real price per share here. And as you know, if you watched any of my other videos, I don't necessarily like to buy unless I can buy under my real price per share. And since CONY has been under it, as it's currently at $6.38, I have been making some purchases to help bring down my real price per share, so that I can get the advantage of lowering that by buying, but that also increases the number of shares, so therefore that can increase my distributions that I would be earning as well. So the advantages is almost twofold, right? Especially when you're buying shares under your real price per share. So before we get started to enter in all of my positions, the distributions, and any other purchases that I've made on these ETFs, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to hit that like button. It does help the channel out. And if you're not already subscribed, we would love to have you join. So let's just go ahead and get started right into this one. And I'm going to go ahead and enter in my purchases that I've made on CONY first. So my first purchase was on 10/13. I purchased those shares at 7.05, and I got 10 shares of that. And as you will see, my real price per share, since that 7.05 is under that, it will decrease that 7.16. And let's just see how much each time that I enter, what it actually ends up being in the end. As of right now, it's 7.16. So that one added 10 more shares. And I made another purchase on 10/14 as the price dropped a little bit more, and I got it at 6.89. And I got 30 shares on this deal. And then I made my last purchase on 10/16, and I've got those at 6.49. And I purchased 45 shares on that. So that took me to a nice, cool 350 total shares as it is adding those up right here. And it dropped my real price per share from $7.16 down to $7.05. So that does lower my real price per share. Now, since this is still under the current price, that means that if I were to sell my shares currently before entering in this distribution amount, then I would take a little bit of a loss. And that's a $233 loss. But I've got a distribution to enter, so let's just see how much that affects this. So that $233 loss is going to drop, but by how much? So how many shares do I have here? Well, I can count for all shares that were made before 10/16 because 10/16 is the X date. Well, that last 45 shares that I purchased was on 10/16, so I cannot count those. But I can count all the ones before, and that's a total of 305 shares. That 45 shares right there, that will go to next week when it pays out. So I can enter 305 here, and this is also going to change that real price per share. And let's just see what it drops down to now. So that 705 now drops to 675. Nice, right? That's a huge drop. So now if I were to sell my shares at the current price, yes, 675 is still above 638, which is the current price, but what a nice move. So that way, if CONY does move back up to say $7, now I am not in the red anymore. I would be in the green. But right now, I am looking at a loss of about $128, which is not too shabby when you're looking at the fact that I have invested a total of $3,689. So if you think in percentage-wise, that is only a minus 3.5%. That's a very small loss right there. 3.5%, not bad. Now, of course, I would much rather it be positive, and it will if CONY can move back up above my real price per share here. But until it does, I can continue to buy more shares since the current price is under my real price per share. Then I can purchase more shares, and that is going to increase my share count and decrease my real price per share. So it's working for me in two ways. It increases my shares, which could increase my amount that I would earn on those distributions. And by decreasing my real share price, it is bringing that down closer to the current price of CONY. Anytime I can purchase under my adjusted price per share here, which is my real price per share, then that's going to help me increase the number of shares and decrease that average. So while it's down is the time to buy for me. Now, that's not financial advice. All I'm doing is just showing just the math of it, right? If I can buy under this number, then I'm going to average down. If I buy above this number, which is the real price per share, if I buy above that, it's going to average up. Just simple math, right? And since my goal is to get these paid off, I do not necessarily want to average up. So when CONY is down low under this value, for me, I'm buying because it just helps me to get this position paid off even faster. Because by increasing those number of shares, it's going to help me earn more distributions, which then helps to lower my real price per share. So super excited about that. But that is my current position for CONY. It is bringing it on down. I have gained back a total of 36% of my capital that I have invested. But since the share price is down, if I were to sell the shares at that current price, yes, I am going to take a small loss. But since I'm not selling, I'm more focused on the real price per share here then. So I wanted to take a little extra time on CONY here because I did make some purchases. I did get a distribution, and I wanted to show you how much that does affect that real price per share. And especially if you're buying shares under your real price per share. And since current price of CONY is under, buying only helps me bring it down if I believe CONY to move on up above this price at some point. And if I am not believing in it, then I need to sell out of it anyway, right? You should never be into something that you do not believe in. So moving on, let's get into PLTY. And here we are on PLTY. Now PLTY, I have not made any purchases because you can see that my real price per share is $12.05 and the current price being $60.61. If I did make a purchase, it's going to increase the share count. And I can show you what I mean. So on this current price here of $60.61, and say I've made a purchase right here and I'm going to buy, I'll just say 3 shares. And since that $60.61 is under my purchase share average, like you would see on your broker, then I'm thinking, oh, that's going to lower my average. And it will lower my purchase average. But watch what it does to my real price per share average over here, along with my percentage earned here, which shows at 80% right now. So here we'll enter in 3 shares. Now watch these numbers right up here, right? So we're going to pay attention to that real price per share, the percentage earned. Right now, I've earned 80% of my money back from my capital, but I'm going to pretend like I'm going to purchase 3 shares at the current price, which is under my purchased share average. And watch what happens to these numbers here. And you can see the real price per share, it went up to $15.70. My percentage earned dropped to 74%. It was 80, now it's 74%, right? So you can see that purchasing those shares actually took my real price per share up, which could eventually take me longer to get my capital back, right? Now it does increase the number of shares I have, which could increase the distributions I earn. But since we never know what that distribution per share is going to be, that's unknown. But the real price per share, that is calculatable, and that we do know what it is. And we do know what happens if we do buy shares above that price. It does raise it, and therefore it could take you longer to get your original investment back. So since I did not purchase that, I'm going to remove that. But I just wanted to show you how that does affect the real price and your percentage earned back, right? It does affect it. So let's enter in that distribution right here. How many shares can I enter? The X date being 10/16. I haven't made a purchase since then, so I can count all 37 shares. And that $12.05 now becomes $11.31. So it's coming on down. That took that 80% to 81%. Now keep in mind that 74 cents, that was just 1 week, because see, we got paid on 10/9 and now we got paid on 10/16. So that 74 cents, that is 1 week. So that was a very nice distribution, and it brought me down to $11.31 on the real price per share. No complaints here. Love it. And if I were to sell my shares at the current price, and that current price being $60.61, then I would clear $1,823.94. Not too shabby. Now, that is not on top of the distributions earned. That is the total amount that I would earn after the sale of all 37 of those shares. Not too bad at all. And moving forward, now we're looking at NVDY. And NVDY, all I have to enter in for NVDY is the distribution. And since I haven't purchased since 10/16, I can enter in the total number of shares we have, and that's 71 shares. So my $14.11 for my real price per share now becomes $14 even. And with the current price of NVDY being $15.71, I am in the good here. And if I were to sell my shares, and there's only 71 shares, but if I were to sell them, I would make $121. So this one here is profitable. And moving to ULTY. So here we are on ULTY. I have not made any purchases, so let's just enter in the total number of eligible shares, and that's 150 eligible shares. So my $5.04 becomes $4.95 for my real price per share. Well, with ULTY price being at $5.15, that means that ULTY is profitable, because if I were to sell my shares at the current price, I would clear $29. Not much, but I am in the positive. And like I said, my ultimate goal is to get my real price per share down to 0. So therefore, I am working with house money instead of my personal money. And moving over to my favorite here, and that's MSTY. And MSTY, I have not purchased any more shares since August. And that was mostly just because had I not purchased those August shares, then I would have had my MSTY paid off already. So I am just on a hold until it's paid off, because currently my real price per share is $1.11. I have earned back 95.4% of my original invested capital, and that was $11,000, almost $500, right? And I've earned back in distributions a little over $10,000. So super excited about this one. And we get to enter in a distribution, and I will be able to do that weekly. So I'm hoping to get this one here paid off in the next couple months, so that I can show you what happens when you get it paid off. So how many shares can I count? Well, since I have not purchased since 10/16, I can count for all 475 shares, and let's see what my real price per share becomes. Boom, 50 cents. Oh, yes, right? Oh, I'm so excited. Now, granted, that 60 cents here, that was for 3 weeks, guys. So, had it been a 4th week, this would have been more along the lines of about 75 cents for the 4 weeks. So since this is 3 weeks, that means it's right around about a 20 cents per week payout. And if it can keep at a 20 to 25 cents per week payout, then I will get this thing paid off in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks. But we'll see what a regular weekly payout is going to bring. But either way, all I need is 50 more cents, guys. I am so excited. I just want to tell you, because you too can do this, right? It does matter when you bought in, right? But if you're buying your shares under your real price per share here, then it just helps you to lower this the most efficient way, right? And with the current price of MSTY being at $11.86, I'm not going to make any purchases, because if I do, it's going to raise my real price per share. Now, once I get this paid off, then those distributions from that point on, if I want, I can roll them right back into the stock, buy shares, increase my share count, which in turn hopefully increase my amount that I'm actually earning, so that I can increase that weekly payout, right? And it will still be 0 or under, as long as I do not buy more than the distribution amount that I earn. It will stay 100% YIELDMAX house money. And that's why I am just excited about this method, and I hope that you can see the advantage of doing this. Now, everybody has their own way of doing it, whether you're dripping, whether you're not dripping, whether you're making one purchase and just holding only. That's up to you. But for me, if the price of MSTY is under my real price per share, then I can buy shares, and it helps me to bring down that price so that I can increase the number of shares to hopefully increase my payouts to eventually getting this real price per share paid off. So super excited about MSTY, and looks like in the next few weeks I should have it paid off. I thought it was going to be in a couple months. Looks like maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And that would be a really nice Christmas present for me. And moving on to SMCY. I have not made any purchases, so I can enter in the number of shares and that would be a total of 30 shares. So my $13.47 real price per share becomes $12.66. With the current price of SMCY at $15.39, I am in the green, and I have earned back almost 12% of my capital that I had invested. And if I were to sell my shares at the current price, I would earn $81.81. And it doesn't look like much, but you also have to understand, I only have 30 shares, and the capital invested is only $431, right? But with my distributions I have earned, my capital that is actually at risk is only $379.89 because I have earned those distributions. And moving on to AMD. And on AMD, we got a very nice distribution this time. This is for 4 weeks, okay? Now, 95 cents, that's awesome, right? We haven't seen one of those in a very long time. But AMD has just been off the chain, right? I mean, it has just been skyrocketing. So this one here, I'm really excited about. And the funny thing is, before I created this sheet to track it, I was really on the fence of selling AMD because the price being at $9.55 and my purchased price per share is $15.82, I was not too happy about that and thought I might better just go ahead, take my lumps, get rid of this, and move this into something else, right? And I know a lot of you have that same feeling, and you do have to make that decision on your own. This is not financial advice. I am not telling you to hold on to it because it's eventually going to go up, because I don't know that. But as you can see, I'm glad I did not, because after getting this sheet, entering in all of my information into my spreadsheet here, I now calculate my real price per share as $8.70. And with the current price of $9.55, I am looking quite nice. So if I were to sell my shares at the current price before entering in this distribution, then I would earn $695. But I did get that distribution, so let's enter that and let's see what that changes my real price per share here. Super excited, guys. Let's enter it in as 820 shares because I have not made a purchase before the X date here. And that 820 shares is going to lower my real price per share down to $7.75. Oh, yes. Now, again, let me stress, 95 cents here for this distribution. That was for 4 weeks. A very nice 4 weeks, but that was 4 weeks. Next week will be for just a single week, and I'm not expecting that or anything close to these, right? But the fact that I am in the green is a very nice positive sign that at least I can see a little bit of light, instead thinking I need to sell it because at the time the price of AMD was about half the average price that I had purchased it at. So this sheet does help you to really fully understand where you set, and that's what that real price per share will give you. And this sheet is in the pinned comments or in the description below. You do not have to use my sheet. You can calculate it yourself, but you should definitely keep track of that. And moving on to YMAX. And here we are on YMAX. We've got a current price of $12.34. My real price per share being $9.32 means I am still profitable, and I do get to enter in a distribution. I have not made any purchases between these dates, so I can enter in the full number of shares of 758, and let's see what my real price per share becomes. So that 932 becomes 914. Very nice, right? It is under that current price of YMAX. So if I were to purchase more shares at the current price, would that help me or hurt me in my real price per share? That's right. It would hurt me because it would go up in my real price per share. Now, it would help me to increase my share count, but at the cost of increasing my real price per share. Now, if YMAX dropped below $9, then I can buy more shares. It will decrease my real price per share and increase my shares. So that helps me in both categories. But since it is above my real price per share, I'm not making any purchases until it is paid off. But that's just how I am working these high yield ETFs. And moving on, we have QDTE. Now, this one here is a round hill, and the current price being $34.96 and my real price per share being $29.21. Let's enter in my distribution and let's see what that drops down to. And I can enter in the 155 shares. So that's going to take my $29.21 real price per share down to $29.01. Now, these take a while to get paid off, especially if they're only paying 20 cents, right? It takes a while. And that's why I said it does matter what your purchase price is, right? At the prices that you're buying them at, because if I buy shares at the current price of 34, it will raise my real price per share and therefore set me back on getting it paid off. So with a real price per share at $29.01, if I were to sell my shares for QDTE at the current price, I would clear $922.74. So I can sell out of this one at the current price, clear a little over $900, and then I can do whatever I want to with that money because I would have made money off of this play. So moving on to another round hill I have, which is XDTE. And for this one, we have a real price per share of $39.96, the current price being $43.39, and I can enter in the whole 5 shares that I have of XDTE, right? And that will take it down from $39.96 down to $39.75. So I don't have a lot of shares, but I am currently still in the good, right? Now I could sell out of this one, take my $18 gain and move the entire capital amount into something else. But currently I'm just leaving it as is because right now I am still under the current price. I just don't have a whole lot of shares in this one as I'm more focused on the other ones instead. IWMY, I have not purchased any since, so therefore I have 551 shares. So my $18.17 now becomes $17.92, which is below the current price of $21.91. Therefore, if I were to sell my shares, I would clear $2,196. Very nice. And that's off of Defiance. And keep in mind, that's the one that I had the reverse split on too. I wish that didn't happen, but it did. All of my Defiance ones had a reverse split. And that reverse split meant that for every 3 shares I had, they gave me 1 share back. So I had 1,500 shares that became 500 shares, right? Now, just in the move itself, there is no change, right? There's no difference in the value of that position because they cut your share count down by 3, but they increased the share price up 3x. So therefore, the value of that position is the same. The problem is when that share price went from $14 up to, say, $43, right? That would be fine if the share price goes up from 43, but it doesn't, right? It went down to 21. So you can see that if this would keep going down, doing a reverse split, go down, do a reverse split and go down, eventually you don't have any shares left, right? It can eat away all your shares on reverse splits. So I don't think I would necessarily want to go through another reverse split, as that's usually not a good sign. And it does give the room for that price of the stock or that ETF to go down. And as that goes down, it's going down 3x for you in a way, because each share from your purchase was 3 times the cost. So each time it goes down, it is in a way bringing you down multiples. So if any of the ones would happen to do a reverse split or announce a reverse split, I think I would probably go ahead for myself, get out of it, and move it into something else. I have been fighting this one, and you can see I am currently in the good with it, right? But I don't want to go through that again. So with that new distribution amount, my real price per share is $17.92. Moving on to QQQY. And for QQQY, my real price per share is $22.80. And with the current price at $25.07 means that if I were to sell the shares at the current price, I would make $1,249. But I did get a distribution, so let's enter that in right here. And that distribution was about 21 cents, and I can account for all 551 shares that I do have. So therefore, my $22.80 real price per share becomes $22.59. So now if I were to sell my shares, I would make $1,366.12. I am still green in this one, and as you can see, this is another one of the Defiance that did that reverse split as well. Now we have WDTE, and as you can see on WDTE, this one was the last Defiance that I had that did the reverse split. My current real price per share is $29.48 before I entered the distribution. But even before I enter that distribution, the current price being $33.15 means that I am currently green in this position. Let's see what the new real price per share is once I enter in this distribution here. And I can enter in all 540 shares. So $29.48 becomes $29.25. Little by little, right? Little by little. Here's BIGY. I made no purchases and there was no distribution because BIGY is a monthly payout. So this one, my current real price per share, $45.85, and the current price being $52.23. I am green in this one as well. As you can see, I am up 9.42%. And for SOXY, same thing with the current price being $58.76. My real price per share being $45.63. I am 9.5% up in this one. So if I were to sell my shares at the current price, I would make $118. And last but not least is JEPQ. JEPQ did not pay out because they pay out monthly as well. And as you can see, the last one was on 10/1, and I would not get one until November. So with the current price of $57.48 and my real price per share of $39.43, I am currently in the green for this one as well. I am up 32.28%, and if I were to sell my shares, I would make $2,652. So that pretty much wraps up everything that I have in these high yield ETFs. And as you know, the one that I'm most excited about, of course, is MSTY, because I am very close to getting it paid off. And once I do, then you'll get to see what happens with some of this up here and how it helps you to know how much you can spend to help you keep from spending more than you actually made. Because if you spend more than you actually made, then you could put your own capital at risk. And at that point, I don't want to do that. I want to only use the house money, have all of my shares paid off with YIELDMAX money, and therefore I'm just using the YIELDMAX money to increase my share count, to increase my payouts. I would have none of my personal capital invested, and that's a good place to be. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button. It'd be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, legend out.